green infrastructure is a set of engineered sustainable stormwater management tools that slow down, clean, and route stormwater to keep it from overwhelming the city's sewer system. And this is how we define green infrastructure at the PUC. Green infrastructure has a lot of different definitions depending on who's talking about it. But here at the PUC, this is what we use green infrastructure for. So on this slide, you can see a diagram that shows some different types of green infrastructure that's pretty typical to San Francisco. We have a rain garden here, which we're going to talk about more today. You can see the rain gardens on either side, and that's capturing stormwater from the street and infiltrating it using plants and soils and aggregate layers into the soil beneath. So instead of that water going into the sewer system, it's actually getting to be captured and going into the ground beneath. And similarly, we've got permeable pavement, which has interlocking joints that have gaps in between them that allow stormwater, instead of just flowing right off of it into this drain, it actually gets captured through those little gaps in the pavers. And so the stormwater can actually infiltrate into the ground beneath as well. Another example of green infrastructure is up here on the right. We have a green roof or vegetated roof, and that roof is capturing stormwater that's falling on it. And then it's being routed into a rainwater harvesting system or a cistern, which is just a big barrel that's designed to hold that rainwater after it's been cleaned. And now that rainwater can actually be reused for things like irrigation. So that's offsetting, our non-potable demand. So instead of irrigating plants with hetchy water, we can actually do it with rainwater through capturing that from the roof. So is there a question or just some background noise? Feel free to call out questions if anything comes up. If not, maybe just mute yourself so folks can hear what we're talking about. Okay, so yeah, these are different types of green infrastructure that we see in San Francisco, some of the ones that we're implementing here in San Francisco. So really the main goal of green infrastructure, there we go, is really to make our urban watershed function more like our natural watershed. So we're really trying to take this built environment that we're all living in and, not obviously taking it back to this natural form, but making it function more like that. And that's how green infrastructure works. It allows us to manage stormwater in a more naturalistic way without really changing the built environment too much. And here's some different types of green infrastructure that we have. So we've got bioretention planters or rain gardens, which is what we were just talking about, and we'll talk about more in the presentation. We've also got vegetated roof here, which is just planters up on the rooftop, capturing stormwater, maybe routing it into a cistern or back into the sewer system once it's been cleaned. We've also got rainwater harvesting system here, capturing from a downspout off of a roof, that stormwater, and then maybe using it to irrigate these plants. And we've got permeable pavement here. So you can kind of see the joints in between the pavers that allow the stormwater to go through rather than just running right off. Okay, now going a little bit deeper into rain gardens. So rain gardens specifically capture stormwater from the street and utilize plants and soils and aggregate layers to slow down and clean the stormwater before infiltrating it into the ground. And obviously, this is really helpful for our combined sewer system because what these do is they pretty much act like sponges during large storm events. When you have a lot of rain falling on the city, these can soak up all of that stormwater and just hold it during that storm event and then slowly infiltrate it into the soils beneath or slowly allow it to go back into our sewer system. And so that helps support the sewer system during those peak storm events. And that reduces, some of the issues that we have with flooding and combined sewer discharge. They also have a ton of co-benefits, so things like carbon sequestration, habitat creation, biodiversity support. So they really have a lot of benefits for the city. They, contribute to urban greening and beautification and all the things that we like to see, while also really supporting our combined sewer system. And we're going to get a little bit technical. So this is kind of how we measure green infrastructure in terms of like how it's functioning. So we've got this blue area right here is called a drainage management area. So rather than, the rain garden just capturing whatever rain falls on it, it's actually designed to have all of this blue area directed, all the rain that falls in this blue area is directed to this green area, which is the rain garden or whatever type of green infrastructure it is, bioswale, something like that. And so the drainage management area really captures all the stormwater and then directs it into this green infrastructure facility. And so that's how we can see, you know, these smaller planters are actually really doing a really big job because they're managing more stormwater than you think. A lot of stormwater is being directed to them that you can't even see. And so they're really working as these super sponges to soak up that stormwater rather than having it go into the sewer system. Let's see. So we've also got a cross section of a rain garden. So this is like if you were going to cut a rain garden in half, this is what it would look like. So anywhere where you have stormwater flowing into this curb cut, it's going to make it into the rain garden, and then it's going to be cleaned by these plants and soils while the rain is allowed to pond and then infiltrate down through the soil and aggregate layer beneath, either infiltrating into the ground or slowly making its way back into our sewer system. And this is an overflow, which, you know, if the stormwater inundates that system and it gets too high, then that connects back into the sewer system. So that overflow actually allows for that stormwater to just go directly back into the sewer system. So they're still serving that purpose of slowing down that peak flow during really big storm events. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and see if we have any questions, because that's kind of the technical side of things, and then we can move into project specifics. Just going to check the chat. Any questions? Feel free to just unmute yourself. All right, sounds good. We'll keep going. All right. Oh no, there we go. Okay, so here's some different projects that we have. These are SFPUC built and maintained rain gardens in San Francisco. So when we started building green infrastructure, we started with these first projects, which are in, there's one in each of the 8 urban watersheds. They're called early implementation projects. We now are doing a lot more green infrastructure, but this was kind of like our first pilot green infrastructure at the PUC. And so these are the gardens that you'll currently see on the Rain Guardians website. These are the project sites. So we have Baker Beach project site, which actually is going to be added soon, but more on that later. Sunset Boulevard, Holloway Green Street, Chinatown, Wiggle, Mission, Upper Yosemite, and Visitation Valley. So they're kind of spread out all over the city. So wherever you live, you should be able to find a rain garden, hopefully close by. If not, don't worry, there's tons more green infrastructure being built as we speak, and we will have lots more gardens on the website soon. And here's some photos. Let's see, nope. Some photos of the different project sites that are currently, everyone but Baker Beach is currently on our Rain Guardian site. All right, now moving into the fun stuff, the program. So Rain Guardians program, what is it? So the Rain Guardians program is a volunteer program where San Francisco residents can adopt a rain garden and help keep it free of trash and debris. So this community stewardship, along with SFPUC routine maintenance of the rain gardens, really helps ensure that they're looking beautiful and functioning their best during storm events. So we do have green infrastructure maintenance gardeners staff. We've got a staff of about 6 now, so it's slowly growing, and their job is to go around and take care of each of the rain gardens that is our SFPUC owned and maintained around the city. So they visit quarterly, so they go out 4 times a year to do really that like deep work on the rain gardens. They're doing the weeding and the pruning and, you know, reconstructing anything, anything that, you know, needs to be replanted, stuff like that. They're really doing all of that work. So then really the Rain Guardians is to serve that gap between those time periods to help keep an eye on the rain gardens, and then also make sure that they're not gathering too much trash, because one of the things about rain gardens is they are depressed below the streetscape. So they tend to be a little bit of a trash receptacle in the sense that, you know, in a windy city like San Francisco, they just have a tendency to collect trash at a maybe quicker rate than like a field would. So we definitely see that, you know, a good amount of trash gets collected in these rain gardens, and it's really important to keep them looking nice and also make sure that things aren't getting clogged so the stormwater can still find its way through into the soils beneath. Okay, so the do's and don'ts of rain guardianship. So what do rain guardians do? So they visit adopted gardens 1 to 2 times per year to pick up trash and debris, report any issues or significant damage or hazardous materials to 311. They wear their safety vests, their rain garden buttons, their gloves, and use their trash picker when they're out in the field visiting their rain gardens. And all of those are provided by SFPUC. So when you register to become a rain garden and adopt, you'll have access to all of those tools that we'll provide. And rain guardians also provide valuable feedback to SFPUC by logging rain garden visits online and sharing photos when they can. So this is a feature that we added on our website where rain guardians can actually go in and log a visit. So they can log a rain guardian visit and add in notes about what they saw, put in before and after photos of what the site looked like. And that really helps us because it gives us that feedback of like, okay, we've got eyes on the rain garden, you know, we can't be there all the time. So this really helps us know which ones are getting attention, which ones maybe need a little bit more attention. And also we get feedback on if there are any large issues that we need to attend to. So that's really helpful. We also have a built-in 311 tool in the website. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that just allows you to go directly to the website and submit a 311 report on the Rain Guardians website rather than having to call if you prefer to do it that way. And then what do rain guardians not do? So we ask you not to stand in the roadway when you're caring for your rain garden if the rain garden is near a roadway, because that can be very dangerous and people drive fast in the city. So we don't want anyone getting hurt. So make sure you're always standing in a safe location that's out of the road, that you're wearing your safety vest, obviously, that you're not weeding, pruning, or picking any plants from the rain gardens. So this is really important. We've gotten, some questions about whether or not folks can weed as rain guardians. And as much as we would love support with that, we have to be really careful because some of these plants, they look like weeds, but they're actually specially designed to absorb all that storm water. And in the dry seasons, they tend to kind of die off, but then they perk back up in the wet season. So even though they might look like they're dead or they might look like a weed, they actually are serving a vital purpose. So for now, we're asking folks not to weed the rain gardens. But I will say that we are trying to conceptualize a program where folks can maybe get extra training to then be able to go in and weed the gardens. So that's TBD and a future concept, but we're definitely talking about it. And then we also ask that folks don't plant anything new in the rain gardens. So although we all love a vegetable garden, this is really not the site for it because these are, those pretty much pollutant sponges. They're designed to capture all that stormwater runoff and clean it. And so you really don't want to grow your vegetables in that kind of soil. So we ask, please do not do that. And if you have any more questions, you can always reach out to me, obviously, or read through our FAQs and watch our how-to video on the website, which features Polly. And so that'll give you a lot of good and useful information of how to care for your rain guardian, what to do and what not to do. And then it also walks through all of the website steps. All right, now talking about how to adopt. If you are interested in becoming a rain guardian, I encourage you to go onto our website, type in your address or the address of the location that you are, nearby most often, whether it be a school or an office building, and you can type in that address and it'll take you to, the closest location of where you can adopt rain gardens. And then you can scroll through on the side panel and find, gardens that are currently unadopted and select adopt this garden. And once you adopt, it'll prompt you to complete, register, create an account, and then you'll be able to adopt your garden and rename it, which is fun. And then you'll be able to use all of the website features. So you can upload photos, log your visits, report 311, all of that fun stuff. And if you do find a rain garden that you really want and it's currently adopted, you should definitely utilize our new waitlist feature. So if you were to select, pretend this is active, but if you were to select one of these grayed out rain gardens that are currently not available and are currently being loved by a different rain guardian, you would click it and it would give you an option similar. Oh, oopsies, hold on. PowerPoint's freaking out. There we go. It'll give you an option similar to this, but it'll say join the wait list. And so you would just select that, and then you'd be added on to a list of emails that would get emailed notification when somebody unadopts that rain garden. So we're going to be building in a feature this year where we're going to have people do like annual renewals, and we're still kind of conceptualizing that, but we want folks to, stay actively involved in the program. We know that a lot is changing for all of us. People are moving, people are switching jobs, lifestyles are changing. So we totally understand if folks just completely forgot about their rain gardens. So we're going to start building up that feature to have an annual renewal option so that every year folks can just say, yeah, I'm still interested in being a rain guardian over this specific rain garden, or no, I'm actually no longer participating in the program. So we might be seeing a little bit more turnover in some of the rain gardens that have full adoption, like in Sunset Boulevard. So definitely keep an eye on that. Add your name to the wait list if there's a rain garden that you want that's currently adopted, because that could be changing pretty soon. All right, we've already talked a little bit about this, but yeah, these are all of our new website features. We've got the Rain Guardian visit log that I talked about. That's really useful for us. So definitely utilize that as much as you can if you are a Rain Guardian, and just let us know what you're seeing out in the field, because that's really helpful for us. And then we've got our new Rain Guardians and Rain Garden profiles. This is a profile page for you as a Rain Guardian, where you can upload a photo and a bio if you want to. And then you also have the ability to make edits to the Rain Garden profile, which is just kind of like a profile of everything that's happened for that specific Rain Garden, who's adopted it in the past, all the cleanings that are logged, visits that have happened. It just gives you kind of like a drop-down view of all of the different things that have happened at that garden. We've already talked a bit about the waitlist tool. We've talked a bit about the 311 tool, and all of these have step-by-step directions on the website, and we will be creating video tutorials on how to use all of them. Definitely going to do that this year as well. So if you have any questions, you're having issues with the tools, or you catch any bugs or something's not working, please reach out to me by email and I will totally get that fixed or guide you through it. All right, new gardens and fall events. So we've got some new gardens coming soon. They've already been built, but we have yet to add them to the web map. So we're going to be doing that. Sunset Boulevard Greenway Phase 2 project wrapped up construction recently. And we're going to be adding all of those rain gardens to the site. It's way more than there were before, like 5 times as much. So there's going to be a lot more rain gardens to add to the site, a lot more rain gardens to get adopted in Sunset Boulevard, which has been fully adopted since we launched the program, I think. So that'll hopefully be exciting for some folks that have been wanting to adopt gardens in that area that haven't been able to. We've also got Baker Beach Green Street rain gardens that are going to be added to the website. So all of those are going to be added probably in late August. And if you go on to rainguardians.org and create an account, you'll automatically be added to the email list that'll receive notifications about all this. And then we'll also put it up on all of our news platforms. So I'm sure you will hear about it if you want to hear about it once those gardens are up on the website for adoption. And then to go with that, since we are going to be opening those new gardens for adoption, we're also going to hold 2 events in August. So we're going to have an event at Sunset Boulevard Greenway, Phase 2, Rain Guardian event on Sunday, August 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we'll be hanging out there. I think it's farmers market, which is great. So you could come do a little farmers market shopping and then check out Rain Guardians. And on site, you'll be able to register if you haven't yet adopted a garden and you're on site with us at the event and you're like, okay, I want to adopt this garden. You can actually find it. We'll have our computers with us, our tablets with us, so that you can, pull up the app and adopt the rain garden while you're there, and we can walk you through how to do it if you prefer to do it that way, or you can just adopt it on your own and then come pick up your tools at the Rain Guardians event. So we'll have tools for pickup, we'll have live adoption support, and we'll also have a little tutorial where Casey, our green infrastructure maintenance crew lead, will be walking through, how to safely maintain your rain garden, how to safely pick up the trash, and also what to look for. So if, a storm's coming and you go out to visit your rain garden, he'll give you some tips on where the inlets are, what to look for, how to clear it, when it's time to report something to 311, all that stuff. So definitely join us for either of those events, because we'll be doing that at both. And we'd love to see you there. So that'll be fun. So yeah, we'll be doing the Sunset Boulevard one and then also the Baker Beach Green Street Rain Guardians event as well. And so both of these events we're currently creating Eventbrites for, and those will be posted probably in the next couple weeks. And we will also put out an email notification with the Eventbrite information. So just stay tuned. If you're on our email list, you'll get all of those updates. And if you're not on our email list, just go and create an account at rainguardians.org, and then you will be on our email list. Oh, and then fall events. We've got 8 different project sites. So we're going to be doing events at each of the project sites. And so we won't be doing, obviously we're not going to do 2 events at Sunset Boulevard and Baker Beach, but we are going to do events at each of the other project sites. So we haven't scheduled those yet. Those are likely to be in late fall, early winter, but we want to make sure that each garden site, each project site where the rain gardens are, has an opportunity to have an event so that folks in those areas can come out and meet the team and, you know, get support on their rain gardens, adopt if they want to, all that fun stuff. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop talking for a second. If anybody has any questions.
Kelly, you received 2 questions in the chat. The first question is, does San Francisco have a long-term goal for green infrastructure, like 100 years to retrofit the whole city?
That's a great question. Let me fact check really fast, because I feel like we've got a 1 billion gallons goal. And I'm like, I feel like I should know that more. I think it's 2050. We've got 1 billion gallons managed with green infrastructure by 2050. I'm like pretty sure that's it. And so that really is through all of our programs. So it's a great question, and it goes beyond just SFPUC built green infrastructure, because obviously if we're going to really get to a sustainability goal, we've got to be collaborative. So that's coming through all of our different program areas, and our program areas are our capital program, which is what we've been talking about, green infrastructure that's built and maintained by the SFPUC. So that's one bucket of green infrastructure. We've also got our stormwater management ordinance, and that's our ordinance which requires any new development in San Francisco that's 5,000 square feet or more needs to build green infrastructure to manage a percentage of stormwater on site. So that's actually one of the biggest contributors to our 1 billion gallons by 2050 goal. And so that's one of the ways that we're also getting to that goal, is by having private partners, you know, private industry really contribute green infrastructure as they're developing the city. I think that's one of the most impactful ways to do it. We've also got our grants programs. So we've got a bunch of different green infrastructure grants. We have our watershed stewardship grant, which is for schools and nonprofits to do green infrastructure in the public realm. We also have our large scale green infrastructure grant, which is for private properties to build green infrastructure on site and to do like larger development of green infrastructure. And then we're currently piloting a residential green infrastructure grant program, which will be really exciting. That'll allow green infrastructure on a residential scale. That'll be coming in the future. Hopefully we'll be, you know, growing over the years. So lots of different ways that we're doing grant programs. And then we also have redevelopment areas. So that's like our 4th one, is redevelopment areas. So on Mission Bay, Yerba Buena, Treasure Island, all of those areas that are getting redeveloped are having to implement large scale green infrastructure that as they're, you know, redoing the streets and they're really redoing the urban environment, they're building in that green infrastructure to manage stormwater on site. So those are some of the ways that we're getting towards our goal, and it's kind of a collaborative approach, but hopefully that answers your question.
All right. Thanks for that question, Peter. That was a good one. All right, the next question is, can you share or co-adopt? Is it possible to share with one another and swap contact information?
Great question. So we have gotten so yeah, this has kind of gone both ways. We've gotten feedback from folks that they don't want the option to do that. But we also have had folks reach out to us letting us know that they would like to do it. So currently we don't have that built into the website as like a website feature, but we do encourage folks to interact with other rain guardians and definitely adopt together if they can. It would mean that one person would adopt a garden, and you would still have a team. So like what we've seen, a good example might be like we've had a Girl Scout troop that's adopted a rain garden together. We've had different school groups, families, things like that. If you're more interested in like creating a team of rain guardians that have their own rain gardens. That's definitely something that we could try to help facilitate, especially with the new gardens coming online. We're going to be having a lot of smaller gardens that are close together for Sunset Boulevard. So what we could maybe do is encourage like some grouping of those sites and hold them for multiple people to do together. So we haven't fully really figured that out yet, but it's definitely something we're thinking about. And open for feedback if folks have any ideas. But one thing we just got feedback on is that we don't want that to be just built in as an option, because some folks really do want to do it independently and they don't want to actually have a team, rain guardian team. They just want to be able to not coordinate with other folks, but just go out and do it on their own. But we really want this to be community oriented program, so I'm all for it. We'll just have to work through the kinks.
Great. This is just a comment from Peter, a follow-up to, does San Francisco have any long-term goals for green infrastructure like the 100 years to retrofit the whole city? He remarks, thanks, 1 billion gallons by 2050 is a great goal. I think you said you mean 1 billion gallons managed on an average basis. It would be cool to know what % of the 10 billion gallons that rain on San Francisco each year turns into runoff from impervious surfaces versus rainfall that lands in the forested areas, etc., and doesn't turn into runoff.
Well, I'm gonna need a repeat of that one.
It might be better to glance on that question. It's like the last one in the chat.
Let me look at that and see if I can. If I can't verbalize something right now, I can definitely get you information. This seems more like a data question, so it might be something that I need to send over to our data person and get him to give me some feedback on. But let me just read it really quick.
Do you want me just to verbalize kind of what I'm asking?
Totally, that sounds great.
I guess the main point is, like you said, 1 billion gallons is the goal. And earlier you said 10 billion gallons of rain a year, I think, fall on the city. Yeah. So how do those two things correlate? Is 1 billion gallons a tenth of the 10 billion?
Per year. Yeah, exactly. 1 billion gallons per year, right? So it's a 10.
But not all of the 10 billion gallons turns into runoff, right? A lot of it falls on Golden Gate Park.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's
1 billion gallons might be half of the runoff or something.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And I don't know the exact status of that. That might be something that we have. I could ping Will. Will Logston does a lot of our data analysis, so he might actually know exactly what percentage of runoff is collected in the city each year. I'm sure he does. And then, that's kind of a better status to be able to compare that to, because you're right, not all of it turns to runoff, but I think it's a high percentage.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this one is just a comment. It would be cool if you could see a calendar for each rain garden, and then you could pick the days on that calendar to pick up trash so that others can see when it needs to be done. Is that a function on the website?
It's not currently a function on the website. And I think getting to that, the reality that we have had it been more insular in the sense that folks aren't really doing team adoptions. But if you did have a team adoption, then I think a calendar would be a great feature. Right now it's just one person for one rain garden, so really it's kind of handled individually, but I think that's a great idea. We do have an events calendar on the website. I will say that that's something that we'll be adding all of the events to, so if you also want to check out our events coming up, they'll be listed on our events calendar on rainguardians.org. And then Kevin, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. First of all, thank you, Kelly, for a wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it, and your passion for the work you do, it shows and it rubs off. It makes me want to run over to my rain garden and do some work right now.
Amazing, thank you.
You're welcome. So kind of selfishly, I've definitely been bothering logging my visits, and now I think I'm going to start doing that because I see maybe it could be important for you guys to know that it's to see pictures and to know it's being tended to, and maybe save you sending somebody out there to make sure it isn't falling apart. And if I don't think we've covered pests. I don't have like if a gopher, if I
Yeah.
find a gopher or something in there, who do I notify you?
That's great. Yeah, 311 is a great notification for that. You can also reach out directly to Casey. We can give his contact information. Sometimes 311 doesn't go directly to Casey, so we're still trying to kind of figure that out. But something like pests, it just depends on the severity too. Like when you feel like it's time for a 311 call. I feel like like we've had some issues with rat infestations before. That's something like if you see a rat in the rain garden, to notify us about that, because that can get out of hand pretty quickly. In Sunset, I'm sure that, there's some golfers running around, and I saw crows picking at some of the straw bales when I was out there taking photos. So there's things like that we just want to let nature do nature. But if it starts to become an issue where you're really seeing that it's affecting potentially the infrastructure, then that's something to alert to 311 or Casey.
And finally, my last question, it was, you mentioned if we needed tools to contact you, if I need a new picker upper or set of gloves.
Yeah.
We can call you, or we can't just go down to the office and request some?
Yeah, we don't have tool pickups at the office, mainly because we're working from a hybrid schedule. So it's pretty tricky depending on who's in office to really facilitate that. But we're going to be doing tool pickups at all of our events. So even if a Rain Guardian event isn't in your area, like you can always come out to a Rain Guardian event at a different area. And as long as, you're an adopted Rain Garden and you have a, viable reason for needing a new set, like you adopted an additional garden or your family's joining in on efforts, then we can provide you with, an additional set of tools. And if you want to email me, if you're not able to make it to any of the events and you really need to get a hold of tools, then you would just email me at therainguardians@sfwater.org, which is listed right here on the slide deck. And all those emails come directly to me, so we can figure something
out. Okay, so
out.
Baker Beach or the farmer's market, you'll be bringing.
Yeah, come to the farmer's market one.
You'll be bringing the tools then?
Yes, definitely. That one should be walking distance to you.
Yep.
A nice Sunday walk. Okay, any other questions? I think Duncan had your hand up. You're currently.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, I took permaculture classes several years ago, and in the permaculture, we divided the city into watersheds. And part of our identification was to say what watershed you lived in. Mm-hmm. And that seemed like a natural crossover to the water department of just raising some consciousness of how the city naturally, the water naturally flowed from the city versus the geographical imposed boundaries, the natural boundaries. So it just seemed like a good consciousness raising thing. Oh, I'm in this watershed. This is the Slayers Creek watershed, whatever.
Yeah, but Duncan, you just called out a big program that our team actually worked on called Discover Your Watershed. And so that actually outlines all of the 8 urban watersheds, which are exactly what you're talking about. So how stormwater flows through, the sewer system infrastructure and how water is carried around the city through those 8 urban watersheds. So actually when we did, and this map doesn't show the watersheds, which is unfortunately, I should have put up a map with that outline, but let me just go back so you can see the project sites. So when we did each of our pilot projects for green infrastructure, excuse me, we did 1 in 8 of the urban watersheds. So each of these areas is one of the 8 urban watersheds. And if you go on to Discover Your Watershed, I think it's discoveryourwatershed.org, or if you just go to our website and search Discover Your Watershed, you'll be able to link to it. It was a really cool project that Polly, who's here, actually worked on. I don't know if she has anything to say to it, but it kind of outlines each of the 8 different watersheds. There's watershed storytellers that talk about what it's like to live in the watershed, historically, what's happened in that watershed. So that was a really cool educational program that was developed a few years ago. So definitely something to check out.
It might be, you could maybe add that to the water bill, or as an address, is the street address and the watershed address.
It's a great idea. Yeah, add it in the mailings, right? Saying this is which watershed you're in. And we need to do more communications around that program, because it was launched a few years ago and it's still super cool and relevant today. So I think we could definitely do that. And let me just drop a link to it in the chat so that folks have it. I can. Let's stop sharing. Any other questions? Okay, just chat this here. So that's a link to our website. And then if you just click on the map on that website page, or it's not a map, but it's an image, that'll, oh, it is a map. Yeah. So that'll take you directly to the Discover Your Watershed site, which is an ArcGIS site. And I definitely encourage folks to poke around in there. It's super interesting. Lots of really cool information. It's a little slow, but if you let it load, it'll do you good. Okay. I think that's all we have. If there's no other questions, we've got 15 minutes, so feel free to ask away. If not, feel free to hop off.
Anybody?
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Polly. Good to see you. Oh, sorry for the feedback.
That's right. It's totally good to see you. I was just thinking, sorry, because I was looking at the watershed site, which I hadn't looked at in a while. And
Yeah.
we did put the watershed signs out in the watershed at key intersections. And it'd be cool to put those on the map. I don't think they're not in the points of interest. They're not like on the maps anywhere. We talked about one time doing like a take a selfie with the watershed sign and get a free water bottle kind of thing.
Totally. Yeah. I know I saw them out there for the first time when I was going and photographing Baker and Sunset. And I was like, oh, these look great. Like that was my first time seeing them. I think Will's currently managing the Discover Your Watershed stuff and the updating of all of the maps. So I can definitely flag that.
Nice. All right. I'm going to peace out. It was great to see you.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, well, I hope I see you all out at our events. Sunset Boulevard and Baker Beach coming up in August. Definitely get added to our mailing list if you aren't already, just by registering online. All right, thanks everyone. I'm gonna stop
Thank you,
recording.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Bye-bye.